Okay. Hey guys. For those that are still working through the booklet and have finished everything and done the maths-based tasks, well done. I hadn't recorded this yet because I didn't think anyone would honestly get this far because I think it started to get really, really tricky and we're coming back to school next week. But a couple of people have asked for it. So I'm going to quickly go through a few of these questions. If you can do these, great. If you can't, don't stress because when you come back, we're kind of going to go through a lot of the same stuff anyway. Cool. So in this earning money topic, we're basically talking about budgeting, a bit of profit and percentages. A couple of wages questions as well. The first one is just talking about fixed expenses. So something that's fixed in place, so it's kind of stuck. It's always the same, like rent. So your rent is always going to be the same amount of money. A variable expense, something that's a variable like in a science experiment, is something that's likely to change. So how much you're spending on food, maybe you're spending some money on clothing, those kind of things. So all I want you to hear, some kind of reason in your own words, what's the difference? Maybe give an example of each would be a great explanation. Question 2, when we're talking about profit, we're asking what percentage markup, so what percentage increase do you need to sell an item at double the cost price? So all you need to think about here is the original price of an item is going to be 100%, right? That's 100%, that's the cost. If you were to put it on sale, it would go down. If you were to increase the price, that percentage would go up. So if we want to double, all we need to do is times it by 2, make it twice as big, and we get 200%. Cool. So if you sell something for 200%, if you got like, I don't know, a bag of chips that takes $1.10 to make, then you can sell it for $2.20, double the price, and that's a 200% markup, or a 100% increase if you want to think about it that way. Okay, so question 3. A lifeguard earns, and I'll highlight some of this, $10.10 per hour. She earns an allowance, so that's like extra money per hour when she's working alone. So then in a 40-hour week, she earned this much. We know that she was alone for 17 hours, and it wants us to find what her actual allowance per hour is when she's working alone. So there's a lot going on, so I'll kind of break it up and I'll leave you to find the answer at the end. So I've just kind of written this again down here, just to say that she's on $10.10 an hour, and in this 40-hour week, she earned this much money. Okay? Now, the question tells us that she was alone for 17 hours. So what we want to figure out is the other amount of hours. So how long was she working with others for? That should be really easy to do because she was working a 40-hour week. And if we take away those 17 hours that were on her own, you can type this into your calculator, she must have 23 hours with others. Okay, now the reason we want to find that is we know what her normal pay is. Her normal pay when she works with other people is this $10.10 per hour, just up there in green as well. So we know that if she's worked 23 hours with other people, she gets paid $10.10 per hour, and she'll end up with, I don't know, I'm going to have to grab my calculator for these because I don't want to make a silly mistake. And I'm just going to do all my calculator stuff on my phone as well. So if you have a phone as your calculator, you can just do the same steps. And she gets $232.30. Now on my calculator it came up just like this without a 0 at the end. But in money, we always go to 2 decimal spots. So I can just add a 0 there to make it 30 because it doesn't make sense for it to be 3 cents. Okay, so now again, what I've figured out is how much she gets paid for working with others is $232.30. I know she got this full amount here for the full week, so I'm going to figure out what that difference is. Okay, so what did she get working alone? Well, that would be 456.70 take away that 232.30, and that's going to give us our difference. So again, I'm just going to type that into my calculator. And we get a difference of 224.4. I'll chuck a dollar sign on just to be clear. So this is the amount here that she has earned, just here, working alone. Because this other amount here was with others. So the leftover must be what she got working on her own. And so what we're trying to find is her pay per hour. So I know that she worked 17 hours on her own. Again, that was in the question. So if I divide by 17, I get a pay of $13.20 per hour. Okay? The last thing I want you to do to really answer that question, because it is quite a full-on one, so you can just follow along, is this final step here. What is her allowance? So how much extra is she actually getting for working alone? That's what I want you to figure out. Okay, so this one's all about percentages. I might go through question 4 and then get you to do, I'll go through A, B, C and get you to do D on your own. So we have a store that sells a stereo for an 80% markup. So that means an increase of 80%. After a few weeks it hasn't sold, so he discounts, so reduces the selling price by 20%. Okay, so what's happened is we've gone up 80% and then down 20%. Now what you might think is, well, that's the same thing as going up 60%, because 80 minus 20 is 60. But that will actually give you a very different answer. And you can try that as well if you want to find that. So we'll just do it using 2 steps. So the first step is we have $270. Okay. Then what we're going to do, just for this part A here, this is just asking what was the selling price before the discount. So that's where I've increased it by 80%. So on your phone, you can actually hit +80, and then there's this percent button. And if you type that in, +80%, and then you have to hit the equals button, make sure you do, because the number will pop up, but it's not the answer yet. You have to hit equals, and you get $486. So that's with the 80% increase. Okay. So now the new selling price after the discount, then what happened is we're starting fresh. So we're going to start at 486, and then we're going to discount by 20%. And again, you can do that on your phone calculator just by hitting -20% equals 388.8. We're going to make that an 80, so it's 2 decimal places. Last thing, it's asking us to write the profit markup. It's always going to be a percentage of the selling price after the discount. So we're basically comparing this final answer to the original. So the way we do that is we're going to write what we ended up with out of, that's what a fraction means, the original price, which was 270. Now, if you type that into your calculator, and if you still have it from your last answer, you can just hit divide straight away. Keep in mind that's again what a fraction does, it's dividing. You get 1.44. Now, 1.44% doesn't make much sense, does it? Because 1.4% of something is a really small amount. So you got to remember, to make something a percent, we need to times it by 100. Cent coming from the word like cents in a dollar being 100, century being 100 years. If you play cricket, you got 100 runs, right? So we need to times this by 100 and we get 144%. And that's our final markup. It's gone 144%. So basically 44% more than the original price. Okay. So have a go at D. That's very similar. You're just doing it with some different numbers. Okay. So it has a profit markup. So it's increasing by 62. So you can go plus 62%. And then it's decreasing by 30. Okay. And then at the end it asks you to do this bit as well, if you can do that. Okay. So for question 5, you're offered a job in sales and they give you 3 options for fortnightly payment. Very unlikely you're going to get a job that offers multiple options for payment, but you could be going for several jobs that have different pay systems, so you do need to consider this. So a retainer, just like the retainer you can get on your teeth, it holds things in place like where they should be, and it's always the same. So a retainer means you're always getting $420 in that fortnight. You're then also getting 21% of whatever you sell. That's what a commission is. So people at like Harvey Norman or a car dealership, they're really incentivized to make sales because they get a commission on what they sell. So for B, it's just $500 each fortnight, but a lower commission. And for C, it's just an hourly rate. So in this last little bit here, it gives us everything else we need. We know that we work 30 hours. So for C, that's going to be times 30, which gives me an answer of $585 for the fortnight. Actually, sorry, I should be careful there. I've misled you. Read this again, and it's 30 hours in a week. So if we're doing a fortnight, I either need to go times 60, because there would be 2 lots of that in a fortnight, or I could leave it as 30 and just double my answer at the end to get what it is in a fortnight, which should be 170. Okay, so that's our benchmark that we need to try and beat. Now our average sales each fortnight, this is fortnight, so that's fine. They tried to trick us with the week there and they got me, is 3550. Okay, so what I need to do is pop that into my commissions, where I'm getting either 21% of that or 18% of that. So what I want you to do is just type that, each option, into your calculator as it is written. So you can do that on your phone or on an orange calculator from the maths room. And then I want you to see which of these is the best pay option in your opinion. Okay, if you're up to there, that's amazing. If you want to keep going, we can. For 6, we've got a table showing the monthly breakdown of how Julia uses her salary, which is the amount of money that she gets in a month. So we have the amount that she spends on each item, and we have the percentage of her salary. Okay, the really important thing to know here is the total salary down the bottom is always going to be 100%. So what makes this question really, really tricky is that we don't actually have a total to find our percentages of. So what we really, really want is to find this total just here, and then I can just really easily find percentages of it, and it should be nice and simple. Now, it's really tricky to do because I have all these messy percentages, but the one I really want to focus on here is this 10% row. I know that 10% of my total is this amount. Now, 10% of something, if I wanted to know what 100% is, well then that's just 10 times 10%, because 10 goes into 100 10 times. So the same way, if I want my total, I can just times it by 10, and I get a total of 3810. Okay, so we've used that blue row to find the total. Now that I know the total, I can really easily figure out this amount here by just doing 38% of that total. Okay, once you know what this is, you can figure out this one here, because these should all add to this 3810. And if you're trying to figure out a percentage, what we need to do is grab this amount, so 19.50, over the total, 3810, and that's going to give us like a yucky little decimal answer, whatever it is. And just remember to turn something into a percentage, we need to times it by 100. So it's a really tricky little table to fill in. All right, so see what you can do. You can use this as your starting point though. I'll help you out there. So start with the total, and try and fill in these gaps. So you go total, then use that percentage, then you can figure out this one because it's all going to add up, and then you can find these percentages. Okay, if you've come this far, awesome. What we'd like you to do, if you're not with your parents or carers at the moment, you can just have a guess for yourself. How much do you reckon you spend in a week on groceries? And then I've got some information here for you on like a food delivery kit like HelloFresh. Lots of options. They offer kits delivered for $8.99 per serving. So what I want you to figure out is how many servings would you need in your house in a week? So let's say in my house, there's my roommate, my girlfriend and myself. So that's 3 of us. So we'd need 3 lots of $8.99. And then let's say we did this for 7 days of the week. And that would be our total, however much that is, for 1 week. I want you to compare that to what you said the cost was that you reckon you do. Do you think it's worth it? Do you not? Maybe have a look at their website, see what they actually do, and just have a little discussion there. Maybe just one sentence to describe why. Why not, if it's worth it? I just realised I wrote a why note. Okay, again, you don't need to come this far. If you did, you're incredible. That's amazing. Go all down, and then we'll catch you up next week. Good job.